Expanding Your Search and Stopping for Directions podcast with Brent Bailey. And at the tech booth, Jody Cook-Bailey and Luke Cardio. We are growing our circles of connections and knowledge together with encouraging conversations and positive communications. And now, Brent Bailey.
And happy Monday, everybody, and welcome to Expanding Your Search and Stopping for Directions. It's Brent Bailey, and we've got a great show, actually a great series of shows this week. We're going to do another week of absolute direction where we're going to bring an expert in and talk about a real relevant topic for you, and we're going to try and do our best to exhaust that topic. Our guest this week is all going to be about beginning the wellness journey, and we got Dr. Mark Sherwood with us for the entirety of this week. I'm joined right now over at the tech booth by Jody and by Luke. So guys, let's get this show on the road.
Let's do it.
We got a good set of, listen, we actually recorded these interviews several weeks ago with Dr. Sherwood.
Yes.
The information that he's going to drop on you over the next 3 days is nothing short of
amazing or
life-changing.
Unbelievable.
Actually, I was looking at the footage, and between now and then, and you can really see it in my face, I just the changes, a few changes that I started implementing from listening to him and putting it into practice.
There's definitely a lot in every episode.
Every episode is going to be extremely good. So you're going to enjoy it, and we're excited to bring it to you today. So let's get into other things first before we get there. There's lots going on in the country today, and one of those, there's always stuff going on. It's like we never have a day where it's like, there's nothing happening today.
Every day.
But, Mondays have become, what we've found out is the states have their own day.
Yes.
Every Monday.
Yes.
And today is a special one because it's my home birth state's day. Today is National Kentucky Day. I'm putting my hand over my heart right now.
I'm going to go get some chicken.
Happy Kentucky Day, babe.
I'll get some, some
Kentucky Fried Chicken.
And
what else? Yeah, what else do you eat in Kentucky besides Kentucky Fried Chicken?
No. Okay. It's kind of hard to... Kentucky's known for several things.
Yeah.
They're known for bluegrass music, basketball, horse racing, but then, and I know this is controversial for some people, bourbon is what Kentucky really,
bourbon, right?
and it used to be tobacco. Kentucky used to be a big tobacco state. Obviously that's, changed. But bourbon, Kentucky bourbon is known around the world. In fact,
it is.
And it doesn't matter if you drink or you don't. There is something called the Bourbon Trail that you can actually go and tour, and it is a lovely drive. It's between Lexington and Louisville. There are several bourbon factories and plants, but they kind of are off the beaten path. They're not like just in the middle of a city. They're kind of out in the country, really pretty, nice area out there. So anyway, now that we've supported the bourbon industry, happy Kentucky Day to all of my fellow bluegrassers out there. So
yes.
All right, what else happening?
Well, the food day is Seafood Bisque Day.
Yes.
Ooh, I know that's one of your favorites.
It's funny.
It's good.
I love lobster bisque, and of course, clam chowder.
Clam chowder.
Clam chowder.
Here's a funny little thing. At one point in time, one of the largest seafood restaurant chains in the world, their headquarters was in Kentucky. They were founded in a landlocked state. Yeah.
Yeah, that.
Of course, I'm talking about the good old Long John Silver's.
Oh my gosh! Oh my gosh!
That's like calling Taco Bell Mexican food.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I loved me some Long John Silver's.
Me too.
My parents still go some days.
All those little crispy things that are in the.
Always ask for the crunchies. Always ask for the crunchies. I'm sorry for all the folks that eat legitimate seafood bisque.
And we live in Florida.
We live in Florida.
I know.
Oh my God.
And really, there are some really good places down here
Yes,
that have delicious lobster bisque. I know the one place in town that we always we're going to regularly is kind of close there to the church. They're a supplier for all of the restaurants and hotels. and they have a little walk-up kind of, excuse me, deli that you can order seafood fresh. It's very inexpensive, but they have great lobster bisque there.
Yes,
so.
it's good.
You know what? I'm just gonna say it. Publix makes a pretty good.
Publix
They do too,
they
yeah.
actually do make good ones.
You know,
yes, they
Publix should just be a supporter of this show. 'Cause
They should.
We do talk about Publix
We
a
do.
lot.
They do.
They're good. They're great.
They are.
Yeah, and it's so. What's your favorite seafood bisque? I didn't know this till years later that there is a New England clam chowder, but there's also a Manhattan
clam
chowder.
Yes.
Do you know what the difference is?
One
Probably
is
has
more
like
of a-
one probably has like more vegetables or something. in it.
Well,
Yeah, Manhattan is more of a tomato base
Yep.
Okay.
and looks more like vegetable soup.
It does.
And of course, New England clam chowder is the famous one.
And
It's
creamy.
creamy
Ooh,
and
love me some.
we
Good
went to
stuff.
Seattle and went to Ivar's and had the clam chowder there on the pier, and it was.
So
That
good.
might be the best I've ever had.
Yeah.
It was delicious.
Yeah, it's very good.
All right, so this is a big one. Clean your virtual desktop
Virtual
day.
desktop, yeah.
Does anybody else have that problem? That you just keep saving things and you put it on your desktop so you don't forget, and the next thing you know,
I'm
It's
so guilty.
like-
I'm so
It's
guilty.
covered.
all the way across is all these icons, and it's just, and you're like, where
How
did
did
I
that
put
happen?
that? How did I do? Where did that go? And my beautiful picture in the background is not even visible anymore because all I see is.
So guilty. Oh
Yeah.
my gosh.
So do yourself a favor today. Clean up your desktop.
Clean it up.
I try after a few times because that's where I stick my messages when I'm preaching. I put them in right there on my desktop, and but then the next thing I know, here they start moving over and migrating. So I finally will let that go for a little while and then stick them all in a folder so that with the rest of
Right.
them. So
Yeah.
it does make you feel like you've accomplished something when you do that. So
Yeah.
today is the day to do it. National
Do it.
Clean your
Take a few minutes and
virtual
do it.
desktop today.
Yes.
I did see something very interesting today. And that's a good question for the day. How do you feel about candy corn?
Oh, ew, gross, disgusting.
I
Because
kinda
this is
like
about
it.
the only time of the year you see it is around Thanksgiving,
Yeah.
Halloween, and
Harvest time.
I
Yeah.
actually kind of like it, but I don't like it
By
to the point.
itself.
Yeah, I don't like
You
like
like it.
handfuls of it and bagfuls of
I
it.
can eat like 3.
Have you ever tried it with like honey roasted peanuts though?
I remember you telling me that. Now, you know what? I could see that being pretty good. I could
But
see that being
just the
really
regular salty peanuts. I like just
Yeah, or-
the
or
strong
even-
salty
yeah,
peanuts.
either way.
And that mixture of it, it's so good.
Yeah, or cashews or some
good.
kind
Yeah,
of mixed
that
nuts.
sounds
yeah.
good.
It
but
is
just
pretty
candy
good.
corn by itself just gets so old.
Well,
You know, yeah.
And this will probably not make you any more of a big fan for it, but there is a candy corn stuffed cookie that has
Yeah,
come
it's
out
too
for the
much.
fall.
It's too
But
much.
who's making this?
I don't know. I saw
It's like
an
a
article
trend or
about it.
something?
Yeah,
Oh,
either that might be a
God.
recipe that they're telling you to add it.
Like instead of chocolate chips,
Yeah,
just
you
Throw
add
the
candy
whole,
corn.
candy
just
corn
throw
in
the
there.
cookie away
Yeah, I
at
don't
that
know.
point. Just
But that's for somebody that really has a major sugar
Yeah,
tooth.
I don't know.
you know,
I
no
can't.
judgment to the candy corn lovers out there, but it's just not for me.
Well, we still have not tried the one that we mentioned that was all
Turkey?
turkey
yeah.
flavored.
And I've looked. Every time I go to the store, and of course they've
It
got
was
a
only
display.
available. I think it was Walgreens.
Oh.
Was
Okay.
it was
yeah,
just
yeah,
a-
that sounds right.
a legitimate or a exclusive deal
Yeah.
there. So
All right.
So
I'll
anyway,
do that.
so my question for the day is: do you like candy corn? Just give us an answer there below. There's people that love it, and other people tell you they're eating birthday candles. So
Oh.
who knows?
And you know
That's a
the
little-
other thing about candy corn that's gross is that it just sits out all the time.
well,
and then
it's,
it gets
it's
all
like wax.
It gets
though. It's
old.
like-
Yeah.
So
You're
it doesn't.
right.
It doesn't.
I feel
really,
like by the time you get to it, it's been sitting there for at least like 4 weeks.
That
You know
was
what I mean?
during, yes, it's true. And I grew up, maybe my mom refilled it, I don't know. But we always had it sitting out for days and on
Yeah.
days. But
Well, all right. So there's the question for the day.
Yeah.
Do you like candy corn? Drop down below. Click that share button while you're there, and let people know because what we have today is Dr. Sherwood. He's going to rock your world. So, okay, a couple of things. Interesting dates in history. Of course, we all grew up in. Jody and I grew up in the '80s. Luke wasn't even alive then, but.
Hey, 89.
Okay,
89.
well, you're close then. You're still 4 years away. Today in 1985 was the day that "Take on Me" by, of course, Aha released the video, and that was just an absolutely game changer. Today was the day, the girl walked through the mirror, and then she was on, and the lead singer for Aha was on the other side, and then it went into like this cartoon thing.
Yeah.
I know Family Guy's redone it, The Simpsons have redone it, all kinds of people have remade this video. Today was the day
it came out.
That it was.
Definitely have never seen that music video.
It's a game changer.
Really? You need to look it up.
Yeah. So that's what's going on in the country today, and now we're going to jump into our guests. So let's get to expanding our search. A few weeks ago, I had the privilege of sitting down for 3 incredible interviews with our guest today. Dr. Mark Sherwood is a nutritionist, a doctor out of Tulsa, Oklahoma, and the Functional Medical Institute. He and his wife, Michelle, have a great practice in which they help patients with regular symptoms of illness and also with wellness, which is the complete transformation of your body where you're really becoming healthy on every level. It's also a preventative measure, and some people just have a tough time even getting started with that. And so that's what we're talking about as we're expanding your wellness journey with Dr. Mark Sherwood. There's been a lot going on for you guys. You've got a lot of great projects coming up. And before we jump into the subject today, I know that you've been working on a movie and you've been working on some video series. Tell us a little bit about what's going on.
Yeah, 2 things kind of significant. We're heading down to a town in Texas, Amarillo, tomorrow to actually film a 10 to 11 part series teaching exactly in a more voluminous way what we're going to be teaching over the coming sessions with you about how to be physically, emotionally, and spiritually healthy. And then just last month, we just completed filming for production of our 2nd full-length movie. This one's entitled The Prayer List. Over 30 actors from all around the country completed it, and it should be out for theaters sometime in November of 2020. So super excited about that. That is an inspirational story that we brought to life that happens to be the story of my wife's journey through life. So it's one of the most rewarding projects I've ever been a part of. So I'm super excited about that.
That's incredible, and we just can't wait to see clips and footage and all kinds of stuff as it starts to get ready to come out. Speaking of Dr. Michelle, we're still trying to get her on the program, so we got to make sure that we make that happen.
Yes. So next time when we do the fourfold appearance, whatever that, let's make it a dual appearance. So
all right.
I can be like 3.5 and she can be 0.5.
Deal. You got it. All right. So what we're doing in this series of programs, we're starting something that we're calling Absolute Direction, where we really bring somebody in who really knows their stuff on certain subjects. And we're really, I wouldn't say exhausting it, but it really giving people a real good push in the right direction to get started in some of these things that we've been blessed to be around some of the folks that know a lot about these things. And so one of the things as we were praying about this, we really felt like a good one would be to start talking about wellness. And I know that when people start down that path, it really is such an overwhelming thing for some people because it is such a lifestyle change. And there are, the way you guys describe it is very doable. It's very approachable. And over these 3 days, we're going to talk about those things. So let's just jump right into it. The first thing that people are going to be starting to make the change in is their physical. So.
Yeah, that's right. So the physical wellness, you have to sort of break it down into a few areas. Let's call them subcategories. Obviously, there's nutrition. There is movement. We need to get away from the term exercise and call it movement. And then there's rest, which is considered sleep. Very important. Talk about nutrition first. I mean, this is the big sort of elephant in the room, Pandora's box, so to speak. One of the ones that we have to sort of get an idea. And first things first, there is food, and then there's non-food. In other words, there's real food with real nutrients, and there's non-food with what I call anti-nutrients. And so to recognize those, obviously, is step number one. obviously on the real food category. When you look at something, if you can imagine it's still growing in nature in the form with which you bought it, it's probably real food. So if you can, and this is a good saying that people can get, if you can pick it, pluck it, catch it, or kill it, it's probably real food. So people caught that. And if you can't do that, it was probably never food. So, we look at those categories and just select wisely. So that's a broad overview of what we're supposed to sort of gravitate to.
All right. Now I got to address something real quick while folks are listening right now. They are working on the roof at our studio home here. And so if you hear banging and stuff, it's not me kicking myself under the table wishing that I knew these things already. It's our wonderful roofers who are taking care of us right now. So ignore any loud thumps that you hear. But so real food and fake food, and evidently most people are completely in the dark when it comes to that. They have no idea that there is such a thing. Obviously, those are great guidelines. Pick it, catch it. What were the other ones that you said?
Pick it, catch it, pluck it, or pull it, or kill it.
Or kill it, yeah. So talk just a little bit about that. What do people really, what are they mostly eating if they don't realize that they don't realize?
Yeah, so processed food is everywhere. There's categories that are subsidized by our government, and they are as grains, corn, sugars, dairy. They're heavily subsidized. They're out there. They're cheap, but those are not suitable any longer for human consumption. What we see now is a gravitation towards that on this myth that it's cheaper to eat unhealthy and it's too expensive to eat healthy. That's just simply not true. What happens is you will eat more of the unhealthy food because it has zero nutrients. It's not going to make you full, and you'll actually eat less of good food because it has nutrients that actually do what they're supposed to do in the human body. So, that's the things that are processed. The things that are not processed are typically your common fruits, vegetables, good clean proteins, with the buzzwords being grass-fed, grass-finished, hormone, antibiotic-free, wild-caught, free-range, etc. And then good fats, which would be avocado, coconut, olive oils, for example. And if we can just shop on the perimeter of the grocery store and stay out of the center is where all the problems occur. So stay on the edge, don't go in the middle, and you'll be all right.
Man, that is, wow. I never thought about it, but I guess that's right on. Okay, so let me ask this: if the food is so that junk food that everybody reaches for, the comfort food, I guess, if it's got such a lack of nutrients in it, how does it pack on the pounds so quickly?
Interestingly enough, people that pack on pounds, we want to think that they are eating too much. Well, in one breath, that's probably true. But if you really look at it from the physiology, Brent, you really understand that when a person eats these calories symbolic of potential energy that have no nutrient value, the body doesn't know what to do with them. So it will begin to store them. And so you'll see this excess adiposity or fat growth on the frame, with the body actually hungry for more. So you actually see people that gain fat tissue that are actually malnutritioned or undernutritioned, and so that happens in the contrary. And so we see a whole population right now across, mainly America, of this increased adiposity, and actually people are undernourished and they're still hungry, and you can't blame them because the body's doing exactly what it's supposed to. It says, I'm going to put this over here. Actually, I put it in here because I don't know what to do with it right now, but I'm still looking for what I need. So therefore, I'm going to tell my body to go crave more food. So this insatiable craving is on and on and on, but it never brings satiety or satisfaction.
Wow. Now that right there is worth the price of admission, what you just said, because a lot of folks would just continue going right back to the cupboard, right back to the refrigerator, and just get more and more and more. So if I'm hearing you correctly, when you do stay with real food, it takes less to fill you up. Is that what I'm hearing?
That's it. And it's like it takes longer to chew it too, because, processed food is, you can literally inhale it, or sometimes we would say the slang term, woof it down. You can get that down in no time flat, and your body doesn't have time to even hear the full signal from the belly to the brain. And that takes about 20 minutes, believe it or not. So if you're eating very fast with food that you don't have to chew very much, you can think about this and sitting back at a buffet going, oh my goodness, I believe I ate too much. You can put in 3 plates of food in 15 minutes. But if you eat real food, like, for example, a salad, it takes time to chew that, doesn't it? So we end up activating that satiating signal or satiety signal. We hear it quicker, and we begin to feel full quicker, so we inherently eat less. That's why a salad before a meal is paramount to really activating that system of satiety, so we will eat less.
That's just that's just so wow. I mean, that's revelatory right there. Okay, so as we move on from just nutrition and food, now we get in. Let's talk a little bit about supplementing for the things that we aren't getting in our food. Is there kind of a baseline that everybody should be looking at taking, certain things? I know, but is there like a baseline that people could start looking at right now?
There is. Certainly our food supply is, even if you do eat good, clean, real food, the inadequacy is apparent. Like an apple doesn't have the amount of nutrients it had in it years ago. It's a given. So there are things we must have, and those are as follows. We must have vitamin D. We need vitamin D with probably vitamin K in it at the tune of about 5,000 international units of vitamin D and about 100 micrograms of vitamin K2. That is for everyone. And we've tested this, and clearly everyone across that we've tested, thousands of people across this globe, are either deficient or insufficient. You need omega-3 fatty acids, 3 to 4 grams per day. Everyone that we've tested across the planet has been deficient if they're not supplementing. And then most likely you need some magnesium, Brent, because magnesium is deficient in our soil. It's the 4th most prevalent mineral in the body. It's critical for over 400 chemical reactions, including, get this, the usage of energy throughout the body. So without magnesium, we don't get energy transferred from one cell to the other, so it can be fatigued. And then certainly a good multivitamin mineral would not be a bad thing. But those top 3 that I noted, yes, everyone does need them.
Okay, so at the end of the program, or probably as we're talking right now, it's going to be on the below on YouTube and on Facebook for sure. We'll have that posted in there so that you can grab a hold of that information. All right, now let's move on to the last. I know that we could spend hours on this topic alone, but as we move on to the physical, I know rest is key and huge for people, and most of the time they don't get enough.
We need 7 to 9 hours of sleep a night, regardless of our feelings about that. The body needs to go through 4 of these sleep cycle rhythms that take about an hour and a half each, and then transition between one or the other about 15 minutes in the transition period to fully regenerate, rebuild, recover what has been sort of expelled from us during the day. Without that, we will begin to age more rapidly, and as we age, we begin to produce less melatonin, which is interesting because that was contrary to sleep. So that's why melatonin becomes a paramount supplement probably from the age of 40 on, so that we can induce more sleep. So again, 7 to 9 hours regardless is important. Sleep is not a waste of time. It's actually what people that want to care for themselves to complete more and achieve more must do as a priority.
So rest is more than just sleeping, though. As people do finally get. I know for me, the older I get, it's funny that you say when you hit 40. The older I get, I'm noticing that I wake up a whole lot earlier, a lot easier than I used to. But I know I can tell a difference in my own body when I do get that sleep. But as people they need to learn to take some downtime too, don't they?
They do. Turning it off, because we're constantly bombarded with negativity and stress and connectivity through social media, electronics, etc. That stimulates cortisol. Cortisol is a stress hormone, of course, and it's the opposite of melatonin, which is a sleep hormone. So it just makes sense. Chronic stimulation never allows the body to go into a calm mode. And just as an FYI, too much chronic cortisol stimulation will absolutely weaken the immune system and drive disease processes more readily and more aggressively.
All right, that's part 1 of our interview with Dr. Mark Sherwood. I'm telling you, part 2 and part 3 are going to change your life. You'll want to stick around for it. All right, let's stop for some direction right now. You know, as he was talking there, I was reminded about something that Jesus said. You know, we were talking about the transformation of the physical, and that's part 1 of the journey, is the physical transformation. The key to making the physical transformation is actually resting. Now, some people think that resting just means sitting around doing nothing. Actually, rest means to stop and recover from what you've been doing. Jesus actually said in Matthew chapter 11, he said, "Come to me, all of you who are weary and carry heavy burdens, and I will give you rest." I know that this entire thing is something that some people really never get started doing. They never start the physical transformation because it's so overwhelming and it is so hard. I know I did myself. From the time I was 36 to the time I was 40, I went through a major transformation in my life, and I lost about 150 pounds. That was so exciting when we began that journey, but then it was so hard the longer the journey went. It became a burden. It became wearisome. And I want to say that I had to turn my physical change and the adaptation of my body over to the Lord, because it was not something I could do anything about by worrying about it and being in fear of it. Rest doesn't mean that I sat around and did nothing, just taking it easy, sat on the couch with my feet up, sipping lemonade. No, I still worked out. I still walked. I still carried the burden. I still actually am very careful with what I eat, and I really try and be strategic with it. But then when it gets to the point where I find myself worrying and I find myself being scared, that I have to turn that over to the Lord. And that's what I believe Jesus is talking about with us. So if you're going to start the transformation, then rest in the Lord and watch what happens. That's going to wrap it up for the show today. I'm so grateful for Dr. Sherwood for coming by and being with us. You'll not want to miss part 2 and part 3 on our next broadcast. For Jody and for Luke, great show, guys. Another good job. My thanks again to Dr. Sherwood of the Functional Medical Institute in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Until next time, I hope you found what you were looking for as you took the time today to expand your search and stop for directions.
Thanks for joining us today. Connect with us on @ExpandingYourSearch on Facebook and Instagram, and @ExpandingSearch on Twitter. Relive any of our episodes on YouTube. We are available wherever podcasts are found, including Spotify, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, and Google Podcasts. You can also download the Direction Ministries app on iOS, Android, Apple TV, Roku, and Amazon Fire. Take some time today to expand your search and stop for directions.